Today's a sad day, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you why. There's a Shams report. I'm sure most of you have seen it already. We'll just read that first. The 76ers and Joel Embiid are consulting doctors and considering alternative options on his injured knee, sources tell ESPN. Sides have hoped for progress in Embiid's body, but his efforts to play and current treatments, including injections, have not provided any improvement. And here's what I think, man. I think Joel Embiid is going to end up retiring. I think he's going to end up with a medical retirement and work out something with the team, to get maybe not the rest of his money, but half of that contract or whatever they do, and, have it not affect the salary cap or something like that. I don't know how medical retirement works, but, Joel Embiid can't keep getting surgeries and rehabbing. Flat out for quality of life. Do you remember when Andrew Luck retired from the NFL at 30 years old? And he said that the last 5 years of his life was surgery, rehab, playing, getting hurt, rehab, surgery, rehab, getting hurt, rehab. And it was a cycle that he felt like he was stuck in, and he started to hate his life. And I'm thinking kind of the same thing for Joel Embiid. It's so, it just seems so frustrating to have a knee injury, get surgery, go through rehab, come back, have knee swelling, more rehab, more rest and therapy, right? And it's still swelling. Now what? At 30 years old, after 2 meniscus surgeries already, he's going to get another surgery and more rehab? It just doesn't seem likely. 7-footers, especially guys that are 7 foot, 300 pounds, 280, whatever, they don't last long in the NBA. A guy the size of Joel Embiid that plays the game the way that he played it laterally, skill-wise, jumping, planting, Euro step back, spin move, pump fake, plant. His knees just have taken an absolute beating over the course of 8 years. And there's just no way, realistically, anybody sees it getting better. I think this last surgery and coming back and playing in the playoffs against the Knicks, that was the final straw. If it didn't get better there, it's not getting better. So at this point, it just doesn't seem like he's going to get back to star level. I find it highly unlikely that he does. And I think he's going to end up retiring. And there's 2 more things I want to say. Number one, people bring up meniscus transplant. All right. And that's the surgery or the procedure that Lonzo Ball got that brought him back to the NBA, okay? But Lonzo Ball was what, 25? How old is Lonzo Ball? Lonzo Ball was what, 25 when he got that surgery, and is also not 7'2", 280. That extra 5 years is a huge difference in that. Lonzo Ball found a donor to get a meniscus transplant. I don't even know if a man Joel Embiid's size can find a donor for a meniscus transplant. Also, Lonzo Ball got the meniscus transplant and was out of the NBA for 2 entire seasons and is still not 100%. So you're telling me Joel Embiid, after everything he's been through with the surgeries and the rehab and the injuries, at 30 years old, is going to get a meniscus transplant, miss another whole season, maybe 2 seasons, and have the chance that it's still not going to be 100%? Why would you put yourself through that, is what I'm saying. He's put himself and his body through hell You know, you could talk about his discipline, you can talk about his attitude, you can talk about whether he wins in the playoffs, whatever, but you can't argue that he's put his body through hell. A person that size is just not meant to be running and jumping and spinning and planting and pump faking and doing step backs and dunking on people. And I don't see, after all of these other surgeries and rehabs, I don't see him doing a more egregious surgery with a longer rehab at this stage of his career. And then what? Try to come back at 33 years old and still probably have knee swelling and arthritis and everything else? I think it's done. And I think he's going to end up retiring. And that is very sad because two reasons. Number one, Joel Embiid is one of the best talents we've ever seen play basketball. Flat out, one of the best talents we've ever seen play basketball. If you don't agree with that, you're just flat out wrong. At his size, he's done things on the court that have never been done before and may never be done again. Skill-wise, he's one of the most skilled players that size I've ever seen. And it was a joy to watch. And, maybe we took it for granted. You watch these guys play, man, and you just assume they're going to be there every year. You just assume you're going to have another year. He's going to come back, he's going to come back, he's going to come back. And then Father Time smacks you in the face, and reality smacks you in the face, and it just doesn't last forever. The second reason it's sad is that the Philadelphia 76ers, much like Allen Iverson, wasted his career. They wasted his prime years. This team, for some reason, does not understand age and does not understand Father Time. And this team, more than the fan base, assumed that there's always another year, right? And Joel Embiid's prime years, he was absolutely dominating the NBA on a historic level for 3 straight seasons. I think the first of those 3 seasons, he was MVP. Jokic won it. No discredit to Jokic. The second year, he won it. And then the third year, he was dominating even more than he was the year before, and he tore his meniscus. He was absolutely dominating on a historic level for 3 straight seasons. And that was the window. The average retirement age for a 7-footer in the NBA is 30 years old. They don't come back after 30 and get back to what they were. It just does not happen. Show me a single person this size that's come back from injury after age of 30. DeMarcus Cousins was out the league at 31. The Sixers wasted his prime years, and it's because they don't understand that it was a 5-year window. There's not much time here with a man this size playing at that level. There's just not much time. They failed to give him a star running mate in his prime time and time and time again. Jimmy Butler was the only one, and that team was constructed horribly when you really think about it. They didn't have a real point guard because you were still fucking around with the Ben Simmons bullshit. Jimmy Butler ended up being the point guard in the playoffs. Really, they were running J.J. Redick dribble handoffs from half court in Game 7, that resulted in 2 turnovers and a shot clock violation that led to Kawhi Leonard's 4-bounce game winner. That team was constructed terribly. Before Jimmy Butler, the whole trying to force a 6'11" point guard alongside this guy, making his running mate for the first 6 years of his career was a guy that couldn't shoot the ball. You don't build a team around a center this dominant with fucking guys that can't shoot. Are you brain dead? So the whole Ben Simmons contract, until they traded him, wasted all of those years of his career. And I think the final nail in the coffin was the Tobias Harris contract and Daryl Morey refusing to trade the guy, asking for absolutely insane trade packages like Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, and a first-round pick, and then punting another season. You didn't have time to punt seasons. When Joel Embiid's playing at an MVP level, you don't have time to punt seasons, you dumbass. You got to take advantage of it right then and there. You have to build a better team around him right then and there. You need point guards who can dribble and shoot. You need wings who can defend the perimeter and catch and shoot. And you need stretch 4 power forwards. And they didn't do any of it. They tried the Ben Simmons thing for 5 years. They sat on the Tobias Harris contract and couldn't put high-level role players around him because of the money situation for 6 years. You know? And then even when they did have cap space, they signed fucking Al Horford and paid him $100 million to try to run a twin tower lineup like it was 1987. Then they gave him James Harden past his prime. And now they give him Paul George way past his prime. And Joel Embiid's past his prime. They absolutely failed to take advantage of Joel Embiid's prime years because they just assumed that he was going to be at that level forever because Daryl Morey knows nothing about sports. He's a mathematician. All right? He came from a company called stats.com where he invented a version of the Pythagorean theorem for James Harden to estimate wins based on a whole bunch of numbers and equations. That's what Daryl Morey does. That's why he doesn't know what he's doing, and all he does is signs players that played on the 2015 Houston Rockets. He has no clue what he's doing. Seriously. Drafting talent, fine. Building a winning team, absolutely not. There's a reason Daryl Morey has never been in the NBA Finals. And he doesn't understand that Joel Embiid's prime years it was a 5-year window, and you missed it, and now it's over, and now you have Joel on an extension. I honestly think he's probably going to consider retirement rather than go through a 3-year process of trying to get a meniscus transplant. And I'm not even going to talk about the Paul George contract or the fact that they need to fire Nick Nurse because he's completely given up and he's one of the worst coaches I've ever watched. The whole thing's a disaster, man. But if you go back and watch Joel Embiid's rookie debut, you might cry real grown man tears. That's all. Sixers play the Bulls tonight. I'll see you there. Thanks for tuning in.